How's that? Shall I start again? Hi everyone, I'm Glyn. Around about 8 or 9 weeks ago, I signed up to 100 charity or NGO email lists. And a few people I've told about this have asked me, unsurprisingly, why did you do that? And there were three main reasons apart from idle curiosity and a desire to see what my inbox would look like after it. The first was I've been working on a few email reactivation and re-engagement projects, and one of the things that came up with whether emails were ending up in Gmail, in the promotions tab, or in spam, or in the priority inbox. So I wanted to do a little bit of an investigation to see if there are any common trends between what emails were ending up where. The second reason was, and anyone who saw the guide dog stats that Helen presented yesterday morning will have seen the real value of the first kind of 8 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks of an organization's emails and the level of engagement you can get through really kind of cementing that relationship shortly after someone signs up to your organization, whether that's through campaigning or just joining the email list. So curious to see what organizations were doing. And the third reason is, I'm sure this isn't a statement that anyone here would agree with, but something I've heard from a number of organizations over the last couple of years is that email just doesn't work for fundraising. So I was very interested to see what those organizations were doing that meant it wasn't working. So what I did was I set up two email addresses, two brand new Gmail email addresses, one for general email sign-up forms on organizations' websites, and one that I used to sign petitions. And which organizations did I pick? Well, they were all UK-based organizations, and I picked a range of organizations, some large, some medium, some small, and I went through kind of the Charity Commission website, picked out a few, obviously some that I knew of, but tried to pick a range of organizations, essentially. And I picked all organizations that are doing some form of campaigning or advocacy work, and ideally sort of public-facing in some way, whether that was doing petitions or anything like that, getting people engaged in their work. And I had a few rules. So one was that every email I received, I opened and clicked on. And if I couldn't, for some reason, get on the organization's email list, so for example, you couldn't find the form on the website or something, I tried again the next day. And I only filled in mandatory required form fields. I didn't provide any optional data at all. So some cases that would literally just be the email address. In some cases, it was an awful lot more than just an email address. Full date of birth, full address, etc., etc. And I only opted in to receive email communications, nothing else. No posts, no phone calls, nothing else. So what happened next? And now, the information is anonymized. I would just, in case anyone's nervous. It's anonymous, although feel free to ask me afterwards if your organization was involved. So that, to be honest, is what I expected to happen. And my assumptions were challenged, I have to say. I did not receive anywhere near as many emails as I was expecting to. I actually only managed to get on the email lists of 98 organizations. One organization, the form was broken, and another organization, I genuinely couldn't work out what they wanted from me. 13 organizations, I actually have to say, I couldn't find a way of getting on their email list. So I had to find 13 other organizations. I couldn't find a sign-up form on their website. And I know they send emails to their supporters. So I had to find 13 others instead, which is kind of a bit of a missed opportunity, I'd have to say. 3 organizations required me to create an account on the website just to, sign-in registration account just to get on their website. And some of those had quite onerous password requirements. 1 digit, an uppercase character, and a minimum of 7 characters just to get on the email list. 17 organizations never sent me one single email in the last 9 weeks. No confirmation email, no welcome email, absolutely no emails whatsoever. I was quite surprised. Two organizations didn't send me any email, but they did send me post. I hope the Information Commissioner doesn't hear from them. I haven't passed on the details to them. And don't worry, it's nobody who is here. And I haven't told, well, I should probably let them know that was the case, because something's gone wrong with the data there. So, welcome emails. 31 organizations didn't send a single welcome email. 48 sent 1 welcome email, and 2 sent 2 welcome emails. 29 organizations sent 1 welcome email, and nothing since then in the last 8 or 9 weeks. Which, again, I was slightly surprised at. And now just a few kind of very quick kind of general stats here. So 19 organizations seem to be sending about 1 email a month. About 9 were sending 1 email a fortnight, roughly. 18 sending 1 email a week. And 6 were sending 2 emails a week, which I think is interesting to kind of see how that dovetails with Kira's stats earlier from Engaging Networks and how the organizations that send emails around twice a week seem to have the most engagement. So I didn't have that feeling at all. Now, onto the deliverability side of things. So about 51% of emails seem to go into the promotions tab and about 48% to the main inbox, and only 1% went to spam. The emails in the promotions tab all had some very interesting things in common. I'll come back to that in a second. So most of them were much more complex templates with lots of images, very heavily designed. It's probably not that surprising to most of you. But the other interesting thing is they were all emails that didn't have any kind of either the pre-header text that was the kind of summary of the email, or they weren't bringing in the kind of this sort of first line of the email. They were bringing in things like a load of HTML code, or view online, or view this in your browser, or you're receiving this email because you're on our email list, and so on and so forth. All of that kind of content, every single email that ended up in the promotions tab, all had that kind of stuff in common. And also, these generally were the emails that weren't personalized. They were dear supporter or dear friend, things like that. And the emails that ended up in the priority inbox, almost all of them were much simpler email templates, maybe just a logo and 1 image. They all had the kind of the first line of the email, the pre-header text, either or the first line of the email was what was coming through that was being displayed there. And they also tended to be ones that they were certainly personalized more, and they were certainly ones that tended to have hi rather than dear as a general rule, but I don't think that's very conclusive. And lastly, confirmations. About 30% people, organizations wanted you to opt in to the email by clicking on a link in the email, but half of those emails went to spam, even if follow-up emails didn't go to spam. And just very, very last point on the content. And I haven't done a very comprehensive analysis of this at all, but it just seemed to be that predominantly 36% of the emails I got were donation asks, around 26 were newsletters, 20% campaign actions, 9% welcome emails, and 9% reporting back on something that the organization had done. 16, the first organizations, the first email I received was a donation ask. 6, all I received was donation asks. And 1 organization, brilliantly, that they're doing a reactivation program, that I got this email 3 hours after I joined their email list. It feels like there's a few easy wins there, especially the last one, to improve some of those communications. Thank you very much.